Hey, what's up, guys? So I finally got down to making my other Thomas Kinkade remake that I've been waiting for a long time to do. So welcome to my video. Welcome to my tutorials. If you guys are new to my channel, I do a lot of time-lapse videos for my paintings. I do some demonstrations, some tutorials. I show you how it's done. I go step by step from start to finish on all my paintings. I do a lot of instructions with regards to how I layer the paint, how I follow the grid patterns, how I follow the reference materials, how I transpose that onto my canvas. So with this painting, I'm doing a Thomas Kinkade reproduction. I did a reproduction of this painting called Mountain Chapel that he did quite a while back before he passed. And this is one of my paintings that one of his paintings that I really admire, because I just like the way that the chapel sits in this whole landscape. And I just really like the way the colors looked, and I thought it'd be a really good challenge for me to paint, because I really haven't painted anything like this before. I did other reproductions by him before, and they were pretty challenging, but this one, it's got a different flavor to it than the other ones I did. Like the other ones I've done, it was the other video that I did. It was called Hometown Evening. It was the one with the little town scene over there, like from the 1920s or whatever. And that one had a lot more architectural buildings that I had to paint, a lot more structures, just a lot more things that I had to follow from the grid exactly, because the buildings and the angles I had to match those properly. And that was a challenge in itself. But this one, it's different because this one has a lot more landscape vegetation. It's got a lot more trees, mountains, and clouds that I have to take care of and balance out. So that was kind of a challenge in itself. And when I paint stuff like this, it kind of challenges me to push myself at a different level, like a more advanced level, because I really studied his paintings, Thomas Kinkade paintings, for a long time. And I try to copy his style, and I know that I'm not supposed to copy somebody else's style to the exact way that I should paint, but I just like the way that he does it, and I want to synthesize his style with my own type of style. And so that's what I'm trying to do with this painting. I'm just trying to copy his ideas with the way that he does it and synthesize it with my own works. But anyways, with his painting over here, I did a lot of the layering that I usually do, a lot of grayscale paintings. As you can see from the beginning of this video, I did a lot of the grayish tones with the backgrounds, the mountains, the sky, the clouds, all those background areas of the trees that I established on here. All these colors on here, they're just a background. Like, I'm going to add a lot more layers on here. I don't do wet on wet. I do the exact opposite of that. I do a lot of dry on dry. And of course, it takes me a long time to paint all my paintings, and so it just makes it easier for me to wait for the layers to dry up for the next ones to follow. So over here, I just have a lot of the grayscale tones again, a lot of greens mixed with grays. The mountains in the background, you see that I mixed a lot of purple with it. Some purple, some grayish tones. And the lighter part, I mixed some grayish tones with the golden brown area too. So that's the thing. With these background layers, you want to have as dull colors as possible. So that way, when you add more colors on top of each other, you're going to have more vivid colors that are automatically pushed out from those grayer backgrounds. And so in these beginning stages, it's really easy to paint all these beginning parts of the painting. It's just I paint, and that's how it goes, because a lot of these grayish tones, it's really easy to put on there. It's really easy to establish these big basic colors on there, all these basic shapes on there and stuff. The really hard part of these paintings, especially when I made this reproduction of this mountain chapel painting, was just the refinement of all the detail on it. Like, as soon as I started adding more detail on there, that's when I knew I had a lot more time to take to make this painting, because it seems so easy. It seems like you can get this painting finished in no time with just getting those basic shapes and colors on there when you cover the canvas on there. But that's the thing I see a lot of artists do, is that I see a lot of them, they just paint the canvas on there, they get it covered a lot with all those basic shapes and colors and all that basic vegetation stuff. But I see a lot of them, they don't take it a step further. They don't take it a step further with really zooming in on those details on there. But that's just my style, partly because that's just the way I like to paint. Really getting all those details on there, like every square inch on here, getting it down to a T. And so yeah, over here you see me adding more of the details on here, on the trees, and I'm all over the place. I mean, I don't really stick with one area, because that's just the way I paint. Like you've seen in my other videos. But yeah, I'm definitely starting to zoom in on a lot of the basic areas. I'm adding a lot more the refined parts, the foliage, going back and forth, and the layers on there. The problem is the patience with getting these layers on there, especially with the trees. Like you see the left side, I got all that foliage on there that overlap each other, like the golden yellow tree, the red tree mixing with it together, and some of the green colors you see behind it. All those things, they're overlapping each other. I think that's what really makes his paintings stand out so much, because he has this way of making them overlap, but they have this way of pushing each other out. But I think it's also because those colors that he puts on there, all those contrasting colors, the reds, the greens, and the yellows. He's just all over the place with these colors, and he just makes it look so good. I think it's awesome. I love the way that he creates these larger-than-life landscapes with all these grandiose scenes that you wouldn't really normally see in real life, and it's just so idealistic. And I just love the way that the church sits on there, and the whole connotation behind that. And yeah, but anyways, going back to the details on there, it does take time. It takes patience to layer them on there, because in this sped up video, in this sped up time lapse video, I go back and forth a lot on the mixing board, and I go back and mix the colors on there. I reapply them on there, and I sometimes mix them on the canvas too, on the spot. But that's the way it is. You layer them on there. You mix those small dots together. Like you see those shadows on there. If you look a little bit closer, you can see how I mix those shadows in there closer. I interweave them together, and then I go light to dark, layer them on top of each other, so that way you have the basic shadows on there. And as soon, when you zoom in on the basic shapes, you're going to add smaller and smaller shadows on there, so that way it's going to make those leaves look more realistic and make them stand out more. So I'm going back and forth. That bridge, it took a while to make that bridge too. Just a lot of patience with getting those rocks on there and the lines on there. I think the most difficult part of this painting was the water and getting it mixed on there, because it just takes a lot of patience to mix those colors on there without making it look too grainy. That's the problem with these detail heavy paintings, is making it look grainy, and trying to avoid doing that, because you can see the colors behind the underpainting and it doesn't look that pretty. So you want to keep that paintbrush wet, keep that paint wet, and make sure to be careful on there and not to overmix it on the canvas, because you want to retain those details. That's the problem. You want to, at the same time, you want to retain those details on there, those fine details in that water with all those ripples on there. Yet you want to keep that paintbrush wet so you can apply all that wet paint on there, so you could mix it properly. So that's just one of the challenges I had to face in this painting. And yeah, with this grass over here, you see me painting that stuff. You see me having that the basic background with that grayish tones. Now I'm overlapping it with those darker shadow tones on there, and I allowed it to dry for about a day, so the paint's still partially wet, but then I go back to it and I'm able to reapply that final third layer of the grass, where you have those the highlighted details on there, the lighter parts on there, and of course those famous dappled parts where Kinkade, he's got all these light sun rays filtering through all the trees that you don't see from the right side, and the sun rays come in, they bounce all over the place on the ground and the grass. It's called the dappling effect. I just learned that. I didn't know that. But so that was the top layer on there, top layer on top of all that, the shadowed parts. Making sure I keep it flat, of course. Making sure that I keep those areas flat, but also knowing that I have to round out some of the vegetation. So that's the thing about adding those layers on there. You have to know which parts to keep flat, because you want to have that the balance. You want to have the flatness complement the rounded out shapes on there. That's the thing about this painting. It's got all this variety on there. It's got all these shapes, all these little details on there that you don't really pay attention to initially, but they all add up to like this big aggregation of detail that just makes it look more beautiful, in my opinion. That's what draws me to Kinkade's artwork, and I think that's the same thing with other people. A lot of people say that his paintings, they have this certain glow to them because he's got this misty atmosphere that he does in a lot of his paintings. This one doesn't have it, though. It's just more as is. It's got more of that realistic feel to it, but still, though, you cannot but feel that it's got this surreal, larger than life feel to it. I just think that's awesome. But yeah, the challenge, the big challenge of this painting was getting those details on there, because he has like all these little nooks and crannies that he stuffs into this painting, like those rocks in front of the church. He's got all those, like in between the rocks, he's got like a little bush, a little bit of shrubbery on there, vegetation, and on the right side of that white tree behind it, you got some more of that vegetation on there, and that the walkway, that dirt path, it kind of leads inward towards that. So, and of course, it was also difficult, the fact that I painted on such a small canvas too. I actually never painted a landscape on such a heavy detailed landscape on such a small canvas too. I mean, this is a 16 by 20 inch canvas, and so I really had to stuff in all that detail in there, and just the patience with it. That was the biggest problem, because all those little minute details, I was just thinking to myself, when am I ever going to be finished with this painting? Like, when am I actually going to finish this? Because I have to keep going back and looking at that reference photograph and going back and adding all that stuff on there. But here I am in the final stages of the painting. It was kind of a relief, because it took me forever to get this painting done. Like, I would say 65, 70 hours of manpower on it. So yeah, guys, I really hope that you learned from this painting. I'm just going as I paint here, just narrating, and hope you get an understanding of it. I think the most important thing to understand with this painting is the underpainting, like the preliminary layers. I think that's what I hope you guys get most out of this, just seeing how I get all those basic foundational parts of this painting, like those grayscale tones again, and making sure that you have the right foundation. I think that's the most important part of this landscape. So yeah, till next time, guys. If you like this video, click the like button, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment below. I would love to hear some feedback from it. I'll hopefully make some more of these Thomas Kinkade videos, and yeah, just let me know if you want me to make more of these or more of my own customized landscapes, because I'm always open-minded to hearing some advice about that stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching.